Jason and his friends were laughing loudly as they stood outside the school gym, their voices echoing through the hallway. They had spotted a man walking past, tall, muscular, but dressed in plain clothes. With a smirk, Jason nudged his friend and whispered something, prompting a burst of laughter. "Hey man, lost on your way to the janitor's closet?" Jason sneered, his tone dripping with mockery. The man paused, turned slowly, and looked at the group with calm, piercing eyes. What Jason didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this man wasn't just some random stranger. He was their new gym teacher, and class was about to begin. The man remained silent for a moment, his expression unreadable. He looked Jason up and down, not with anger, but with something much more unsettling, patience. "You must be one of my students," he finally said, his voice calm but firm. Jason frowned. "What?" The man extended his hand. "Coach Miller, your new gym teacher." The laughter from Jason's friends died instantly. A heavy silence fell over the group as Jason's face twisted with disbelief. His mind scrambled for a response, but nothing came. Coach Miller didn't wait for an apology. He simply gave a small nod and turned toward the gym. "Class starts at 8 a.m. sharp. Don't be late." Jason swallowed hard as his friends exchanged nervous glances. No one had expected this. No one had thought that the man they mocked would soon have them running drills and doing push-ups. The next morning, Jason walked into the gym, his usual confidence replaced by unease. Coach Miller stood in the center of the court, a whistle around his neck. His eyes met Jason's, and for a split second, there was something there. Not anger, not revenge, but a quiet challenge. "All right, class," Coach Miller called out. "Let's see what you're made of." Jason exhaled, bracing himself. He had a feeling this gym class would be different. Coach Miller wasted no time. He blew his whistle, and the class scrambled into place. 10 laps around the gym. "Now!" he ordered. Jason hesitated. He was used to slacking off in gym class, making jokes, and barely breaking a sweat. But something about Coach Miller's tone made it clear there would be no shortcuts today. As Jason started running, his legs already felt heavy. The gym echoed with the sounds of sneakers squeaking against the floor and students panting. But Coach Miller wasn't just standing on the sidelines, he was running too. Effortless, strong, focused. "You think this is tough?" Coach Miller asked, jogging alongside Jason. "Life's tougher. And if you waste your energy tearing others down instead of building yourself up, you'll never be strong." Jason clenched his jaw. He didn't like being called out, especially not in front of everyone. But he couldn't deny it, Coach Miller wasn't just talking about running. After laps came push-ups, then squats, then an obstacle course. By the end of the session, Jason's muscles burned, and sweat dripped from his face. He dropped onto the gym floor, exhausted. Coach Miller crouched beside him. "Tired?" he asked. Jason just nodded, breathing hard. Coach Miller studied him for a moment. "You remind me of someone I used to know," he said. Jason looked up, confused. "Who?" Coach Miller gave a small smile. "Me, before I learned better." Jason didn't know how to respond, but for the first time he felt something different, respect. And maybe, just maybe, a little regret. That night, Jason couldn't shake Coach Miller's words. You remind me of someone I used to know, me before I learned better." The next day in gym class, Jason showed up on time, but something felt different. He wasn't joking around. He wasn't looking for someone to mock. Instead, he kept his eyes on Coach Miller, watching how he carried himself. Calm, confident, unshaken. Halfway through class, Coach Miller set up a basketball scrimmage. Jason, usually the loudest on the court, found himself silent, focused. When a teammate missed a shot, he didn't roll his eyes or laugh. He passed the ball back and said, "Try again." Coach Miller noticed. After class, as Jason grabbed his bag, Coach Miller called his name. "You played differently today," he said. Jason shrugged. "Yeah, well, just didn't feel like messing around." Coach Miller nodded. "Good, because messing around is easy, but real strength, that takes effort." Jason hesitated, then finally asked, "Why'd you say I remind you of you?" Coach Miller leaned against the bleachers. "Because I used to be just like you. Thought tearing people down made me stronger. That making others feel small would make me feel big. But I was wrong." Jason frowned. "What changed?" Coach Miller exhaled. "I met someone who didn't fight me, didn't yell at me, just showed me what real strength looked like. And that made me want to change." Jason stayed quiet. Deep down, he knew he had a choice. Keep being the guy who laughed at others or be someone stronger. Coach Miller stood up. "You're not a bad kid, Jason, but strength isn't about tearing people down. It's about lifting them up." As Jason left the gym, those words stayed with him. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to be stronger. Over the next few weeks, something shifted in Jason. He still had his usual confidence, but something Coach Miller said kept playing in his mind. Real strength is about lifting people up, not tearing them down. It wasn't easy. His friends still joked around, still picked on kids who weren't as athletic or popular. And Jason still felt the urge to laugh along. But then, one afternoon, something happened that forced him to make a choice. In the locker room after gym class, one of Jason's friends, Tyler, nudged a quiet kid named Ben as he tied his shoes. "Hey, nice shoes, nerd. What did you get them from?" "A thrift store." Tyler snickered. The other guys laughed, but Jason didn't. Ben just kept his head down, shoving his gym clothes into his locker. Jason noticed the way his shoulders tensed, the way he moved quickly, like he was trying to disappear. Before he even realized what he was doing, Jason stepped between them. "Yo, lay off," he said, his voice steady. Tyler raised an eyebrow. "What? We're just messing around." "Yeah? Well, it's not funny," Jason said. The room got quiet. Jason could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on him. Tyler scoffed. "Since when do you care?" Jason didn't have an answer. He just knew he felt different. Ben glanced up at Jason for the first time, his expression surprised but grateful. He grabbed his bag and hurried out. Tyler rolled his eyes. "Man, you've been weird ever since that gym teacher showed up." Jason ignored him. He wasn't sure what had changed inside him. He only knew one thing. He didn't want to be the kind of guy who made others feel small anymore. And he had a feeling Coach Miller knew it too. The next gym class was different for Jason. Not because the exercises had changed, but because he had. He was more aware of himself, of the way others acted, of the way people reacted when they were treated unfairly. As the students lined up for warm-ups, Jason noticed Ben standing alone near the back of the group. His shoulders were still hunched, as if expecting someone to knock him down again. Jason hesitated, then walked over. "Yo, you any good at basketball?" Ben looked up, confused. "What?" Jason nodded toward the court. "We're running teams today. You in?" Ben blinked, glancing around as if expecting it to be a joke. But Jason's expression was serious. I guess," Ben muttered. "Cool," Jason said simply. Coach Miller blew the whistle and the game began. Jason could feel Tyler watching him from the other side of the court, probably waiting for him to mess with Ben, to make a joke at his expense. But Jason didn't. Instead, when Ben got the ball and hesitated, Jason called out, "Shoot it!" Ben looked shocked. He clumsily took the shot, and though it missed, Jason clapped him on the back. "Not bad. Try again next time." Coach Miller was watching, and for the first time, Jason saw something in his eyes, approval. By the end of class, something unexpected happened. Ben wasn't walking with his head down anymore. He was standing a little taller. As they were leaving, Coach Miller called Jason over. "You made a choice today," Coach Miller said. Jason shrugged. "Yeah, well, figured it was time to stop being an idiot." Coach Miller chuckled. "Takes a strong person to admit that." Jason nodded, but then asked, "What happened to you when you were my age?" Coach Miller took a deep breath. "I had a coach too, just like you have me. Someone who didn't give up on me, even when I was a punk." Jason smirked. "So what? You're saying I'm a punk?" Coach Miller smiled. "I'm saying you're growing." For the first time in a long time, Jason felt something new. Not power, not control, just pride. But his journey wasn't over yet. A week later, something happened that tested Jason in a way he never expected. It was after school, and Jason was heading to the parking lot when he heard voices near the back of the gym. He recognized them immediately, Tyler and his group. But what made him stop was another voice, quieter, strained. "Ben." Jason turned the corner and saw Tyler and the others surrounding Ben near the bike racks. Ben clutched his backpack tightly, looking like he wanted to disappear. "Come on, man," Tyler said, shoving Ben's shoulder. "It was just a joke, right? No hard feelings." Ben didn't respond. His silence only seemed to amuse Tyler more. Jason felt his chest tighten. A month ago, he might have laughed along. But now it made him sick. Without thinking, Jason stepped forward. "Back off, Tyler." The group turned. Tyler raised an eyebrow. "Oh, look who it is. You got a new best friend now, Jason?" "Yeah," Jason said without hesitation. "Problem?" Tyler scoffed. "Dude, when did you turn soft?" Jason stepped closer. "When did you turn weak?" His voice was steady, but there was an edge to it. "Because that's what this is, Tyler. Weak. You think picking on someone makes you tough? Nah, it just proves you're scared." Tyler's smirk faltered for a second. "Scared of what?" Jason shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe that deep down, you know you're not as strong as you pretend to be." A tense silence settled between them. Then Tyler scoffed and shook his head. "Whatever, man. You've changed." "Yeah," Jason said. "I have." Without another word, Tyler turned and walked off, his friends following behind. Jason exhaled. His heart was still pounding. Ben looked at him, eyes wide. You didn't have to do that. Jason gave a small shrug. Yeah, I did. For the first time, Ben smiled. Not a nervous, hesitant smile, but a real one. As Jason watched Tyler disappear into the parking lot, he knew there was no going back. And for the first time in his life, he was okay with that. The next morning, Jason walked into the gym feeling different, lighter, yet stronger. The echoes of the past still lingered, but they no longer controlled him. As he started stretching, Coach Miller approached. Heard what happened yesterday, Coach said. Jason smirked. News travels fast, huh? Coach Miller nodded. Faster than you think. He studied Jason for a moment before saying, Proud of you. Jason looked down, then shrugged. I didn't want to be that guy anymore. Coach Miller smiled. That's the thing, Jason. You never were that guy. You just had to see it for yourself. Jason let those words sink in. He wasn't perfect, and he still had a lot to learn. But for the first time, he felt like he was on the right path, not just for himself, but for others too. As the whistle blew and class began, Jason glanced across the gym. Ben was stretching near the back as usual, but this time he didn't look alone. Jason jogged over and nudged him. You gonna keep missing those shots? Or do I have to teach you? Ben grinned. Oh, please. You're not that good. Jason laughed, grabbing a basketball and spinning it on his finger. Guess we'll find out. And as the game started, Jason knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning.